The rain hammered against the windows of our little cottage in the Cotswolds, each drop a tiny drumbeat against the silence that had settled between Isolde and me. We had moved here from London just 2 years ago, seeking a quieter life, a place where we could nurture our love away from the city's relentless demands. I, Anselm, worked remotely as an IT specialist, a job that allowed me the flexibility to be present, to be a partner, a husband. Isolde, a talented artist, had always dreamed of opening her own gallery, a dream I wholeheartedly supported. But lately, the dream seemed to have faded, replaced by a distance I couldn't bridge. Isolde had become withdrawn, her laughter less frequent, her eyes holding a shadow I didn't understand. She spent hours in her studio, the door firmly closed, the scent of turpentine and oil paint a barrier between us. When I asked about her work, she'd offer vague replies, a strained smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just experimenting, Anselm," she'd say, her voice barely a whisper. "Nothing to see yet." It started subtly, the small things that chipped away at my sense of security. A forgotten anniversary, a missed phone call, a lingering hug that felt perfunctory. I tried to dismiss them as stress, the pressure of her upcoming gallery opening, but a nagging unease persisted. I found myself checking her phone, a shameful act I never thought I was capable of. But the texts were always innocuous, conversations with friends, mundane details about errands and appointments. I felt a pang of guilt each time, a sense of betrayal against the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew. Then came the late nights, the excuses about needing to work on a commission, the faint scent of a cologne that wasn't mine clinging to her clothes. I tried to talk to her, to voice my concerns, but she'd brush them aside, accusing me of being insecure, of stifling her creativity. "You're suffocating me, Anselm," she'd say, her voice sharp, her eyes flashing with anger. "I need space, I need to breathe." One particularly stormy evening, Isolde announced she had to attend a meeting with a potential investor in Stow-on-the-Wold, a neighboring town. "It's crucial, Anselm," she said, her voice pleading. "This could be the break I need." I wanted to believe her, but the doubt gnawed at me, a persistent ache in my gut. As she drove away, the taillights of her car disappearing into the rain, I felt a sense of dread wash over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. I tried to distract myself, to work on my projects, but my mind kept wandering back to Isolde, to the lies I suspected, to the growing chasm between us. As the hours ticked by, I found myself growing increasingly restless. I decided to drive to Stow-on-the-Wold to see if I could find her, to quell the rising panic within me. The town was quiet, the streets deserted in the late-night rain. I drove past the restaurants and pubs, searching for Isolde's car, a silver Volvo that was usually easy to spot. Finally, I saw it parked outside a small, nondescript hotel on the outskirts of town. My heart pounded in my chest, a mixture of fear and anger churning within me. I parked my car across the street, watching the hotel entrance, waiting for Isolde to emerge. Time seemed to stretch on forever. The rain continued to fall, blurring the lights of the town, creating a surreal, dreamlike atmosphere. Just as I was about to give up, to dismiss my fears as paranoia, I saw them. Isolde emerged from the hotel, her arm linked with a man I didn't recognize. He was tall, handsome, with a confident swagger that made my blood boil. They laughed, their voices carrying on the night air, a sound that pierced my heart like a shard of glass. I watched as they walked to Isolde's car, their bodies pressed close together, their hands intertwined. They kissed, a long, passionate kiss that confirmed my worst fears. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, a sense of disbelief that this was actually happening, that the woman I loved, the woman I had trusted with my heart, was betraying me in the most brutal way possible. I wanted to confront them, to scream, to demand an explanation, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by shock, by the sheer magnitude of the betrayal. I watched as they drove away, their laughter fading into the night, leaving me standing alone in the rain, my heart shattered into a million pieces. I drove back to our cottage, the rain mirroring the tears that streamed down my face. I couldn't go inside, couldn't face the emptiness that awaited me. I parked the car on the driveway, turned off the engine, and sat there in the darkness, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The next morning, Isolde returned, her face flushed, her eyes bright. She acted as if nothing had happened, as if the previous night had been just another routine business meeting. "Did you get the investment?" I asked, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. She smiled, a triumphant smile that made my stomach churn. "Yes, Anselm," she said. "It's all coming together. My dream is finally coming true." I looked at her, at the woman I had loved, and I saw a stranger. A woman who was capable of deceit, of betrayal, of inflicting unimaginable pain. "I know," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I know everything." Her face paled, her eyes widening in alarm. "What do you mean?" she stammered. "I saw you, Isolde," I said. "Last night in Stow-on-the-Wold. I saw you with him." She tried to deny it, to lie her way out of it, but I wouldn't let her. I confronted her with the truth, with the evidence I had witnessed with my own eyes. She broke down, sobbing, begging for forgiveness. "It was a mistake, Anselm," she pleaded. "A moment of weakness. It didn't mean anything, but it meant everything. It meant that our marriage was a lie, that our love was a sham, that the woman I had trusted with my heart was a fraud." "I can't do this, Isolde," I said, my voice trembling. "I can't forgive you. I can't forget what you've done." I told her to leave, to pack her things and get out of my life. She refused, begging me to reconsider, promising to change, to make things right. But I was adamant. The trust was broken, the love was gone. There was nothing left to salvage. She finally left, her sobs echoing through the empty cottage. I watched as her car disappeared down the driveway, carrying with it the remnants of our shattered dreams. In the days that followed, I felt a range of emotions: anger, sadness, disbelief, and a profound sense of loss. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't function. I was a shell of my former self, a broken man haunted by the memories of a love that had turned to ashes. I confided in my friend Bertram, a kind and supportive man who had always been there for me. He listened patiently as I poured out my heart, offering words of comfort and encouragement. "You'll get through this, Anselm," he said. "It'll take time, but you'll heal. You're a strong man and you deserve better than this." Bertram suggested I seek legal advice to protect my interests in the divorce proceedings. I contacted a solicitor and started the process of untangling our lives, of dividing our assets, of severing the ties that had once bound us together. As I delved deeper into the legal aspects of the divorce, I discovered something shocking. Isolde had been secretly transferring funds from our joint account into her own personal account for months. She had been planning to leave me, to start a new life with her lover, and she had been systematically draining our finances to fund her escape. I was stunned, outraged by her audacity, by her complete lack of remorse. I confronted her with the evidence, and she didn't deny it. She admitted that she had been planning to leave me for months, that she had never really loved me, that she had only been using me for my money. Her words were like a knife to the heart, confirming my worst fears, shattering the last vestiges of hope I had clung to. I realized that I had been living a lie for years, that the woman I had loved was nothing more than a manipulative, greedy con artist. I decided to fight back. I instructed my solicitor to pursue legal action against Isolde, to recover the stolen funds, and to ensure that she didn't get away with her deceitful scheme. The divorce proceedings were bitter and acrimonious. Isolde fought tooth and nail, trying to retain as much of our assets as possible. She even tried to smear my reputation, to portray me as an abusive and controlling husband. But the truth prevailed. The court saw through her lies and ruled in my favor. I was awarded a substantial settlement, and Isolde was ordered to repay the stolen funds. But the money didn't bring me happiness. It couldn't erase the pain of betrayal, the scars of a broken heart. I was still haunted by the memories of Isolde, by the realization that I had been so blind, so naive. I decided to leave the Cotswolds, to start a new life somewhere else, to escape the reminders of our shattered dreams. I sold the cottage, packed my belongings, and moved to Brighton, a vibrant seaside city on the south coast of England. In Brighton, I found solace in the sea, in the rhythm of the waves, in the vastness of the horizon. I took long walks along the beach, breathing in the salty air, letting the wind wash away the pain of the past. I started painting again, rediscovering a passion I had neglected for years. I joined a local art group and met new friends, people who appreciated my talent and supported my recovery. One day, while exhibiting my paintings at a local gallery, I met a woman named Gwendaline. She was a kind, intelligent, and beautiful woman who saw something in me that I had lost sight of myself. We started dating, and slowly, cautiously, I began to trust again, to open my heart to the possibility of love. Gwendoline helped me heal, to overcome the scars of the past, to embrace the future with hope and optimism. She taught me that not all women are like Isolde, that there are still good, honest, and loving people in the world. I eventually married Gwendoline, and we built a life together in Brighton, a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. I never forgot the pain of my betrayal, but I refused to let it define me. I learned from my mistakes, and I emerged from the ashes a stronger, wiser, and more resilient man. Years later, I received a letter from Isolde. She was living in Spain, working as a waitress in a small cafe. Her lover had left her, taking with him the stolen funds, leaving her penniless and alone. She begged for my forgiveness, admitting that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had ruined her life with her greed and deceit. I didn't reply to her letter. I had moved on, and I had no desire to revisit the past. I had found happiness with Gwendoline, and I wasn't going to let Isolde's remorseful plea disrupt my peace. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience with Isolde. That trust is a precious gift, and that betrayal is a wound that can take a lifetime to heal. But I also learned that it is possible to overcome even the most devastating heartbreak, to find love again, and to build a new life filled with hope and happiness. And as I stood on the beach in Brighton, watching the waves crash against the shore, I knew that I had finally found my peace, that I had finally escaped the shadow of Isolde's betrayal, and that I was finally free to live my life to the fullest. But the story doesn't end there. A few weeks later, Bertram called me, sounding agitated. "Anselm, you won't believe this," he said. "I ran into someone who knows Isolde's former lover, the one who ran off with her money." My heart skipped a beat. "What about him?" I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. "Apparently, he's been bragging about how he conned Isolde out of everything, how he knew she had stolen the money from you and planned to leave you all along," Bertram said. "He even admitted that he only pursued her because of the money." I felt a surge of anger, a renewed sense of injustice. Isolde had not only betrayed me, but she had also been betrayed by her own lover. The irony was almost too much to bear. "There's more," Bertram continued. "He's been flaunting the money, living a lavish lifestyle, and generally making a spectacle of himself. He's even using some of Isolde's paintings to decorate his new villa." I felt a flicker of something akin to satisfaction. Isolde's lover was a fraud, a con artist just like her. They deserved each other. "I have his address, Anselm," Bertram said. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" A plan began to form in my mind. A way to exact a final measure of revenge, not just for myself, but for all the pain and suffering Isolde and her lover had caused. I flew to Spain, determined to confront Isolde's former lover and reclaim what was rightfully mine. I tracked him down to his opulent villa, a garish display of ill-gotten wealth. I confronted him, demanding the return of the stolen funds. He laughed, dismissing me as a pathetic cuckold, a fool who had been easily duped. But I was prepared. I had gathered evidence of his fraudulent activities, his lavish spending, his boasting about conning Isolde. I presented it to the local authorities, who promptly arrested him for fraud and theft. The stolen funds were recovered, and I donated them to a local charity that supported victims of fraud and abuse. Isolde's former lover was sentenced to several years in prison, his lavish lifestyle brought to an abrupt end. As for Isolde, she was left to face the consequences of her actions, alone and penniless in a foreign land. I returned to Brighton, feeling a sense of closure, a sense of justice served. I had not only reclaimed my financial losses, but I had also exposed the truth, ensuring that Isolde and her lover paid the price for their deceit. I continued to live my life with Gwendaline, our love growing stronger with each passing day. I never forgot the pain of the past, but I refused to let it define me. I had learned from my mistakes, and I had emerged from the darkness a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate man. And as I stood on the beach in Brighton, watching the waves crash against the shore, I knew that I had finally found my peace, that I had finally escaped the shadow of Isolde's betrayal, and that I was finally free to live my life to the fullest.